Hey, welcome to Pop Culture Reviews, and I am not alone today for my reviews. I'm so excited. Um, I have two amazing co-hosts with me. You guys know Jeff from Humanoids from the Deep Dive, that we do the podcast together. And Kevin, we've known each other for a while now, and I know we love kikiing about horror movies and stuff. So I'm really excited. And Jeff, you got a cool quote used for this, right?
Yeah. A buddy sent me that they used my social reaction for their
Yeah, brag a
I
little bit.
Instagram. Yeah, for their Instagram. I went to the Hollywood premiere, which was a blast. Shout out to Marshall NPR for the invite. And
Oh,
yes, I gotta like hang out with the Antichrist and whatever, and then they used my pull quote for the
nice.
Instagram ad campaign, which I'm pumped about because I really loved it, and I've always loved the Omen film series. So
Mhm.
it was very special to me to be like a part of that in a way.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Jeff, I'll kick it off to you for your just kind of initial impressions and thoughts on the movie overall.
Sure. Initial impressions. I was so incredibly pleased that they went so hard in the paint with certain scenes.
Hmm.
Legacy prequels by major studios are not usually where you get the most controversial cutting edge scenes and whatnot. But they didn't Stevenson's a really talented director. She didn't pull any punches um on a bunch of things I don't want to spoil, but it was a treat, I got to tell you.
Hmm.
It's so beautifully shot as someone that really pays attention to cinematography and editing. Some of the shots and the shot composition are physically very beautiful. The editing was really tight. Um, I thought that it was scary and atmospheric. It felt yeah, there's like a big looming sense of dread, and I also thought that like Nell Tiger Free um knocked it out of the park. She's such a, I mean, I already liked Servant, so I knew she was a talented actress, but she did a killer job. And there's one particular scene where it just burned into my cognition. And so absolute shout out. I really had a great time.
Nice. And Kevin, I know we talked a little bit about it after we watched the movie, but since you had some time to like sit on it for a little while, think about it, watch, and you said you watched the first movie over, um, and like, have your initial impressions like changed?
Initially, yeah. Initially, I thought it was a good movie. I liked the ambiance of the music in the background. It really made it feel just like one of the original Omen movies. Um, I really liked. I liked that they used a lot of the practical stuff, like
Mhm.
special effects. Like I liked that the creature actually looks like a creature, and yeah, trying to think. And the acting was phenomenal. I mean, yeah, I kind of it felt like the world. It felt like the same world that the other movies had. It didn't feel like it was a disjointed like other prequels have been in other franchises or have gone. This didn't feel like the same world. This felt like the exact same world. Like it was like somebody made this first and then they made the other one. Um, Going back and watching the original, it kind of it made me go, huh. I saw where they paid more homage to the original in this one, and there was a lot of foreshadowing like in the original that was in this one. Like I
Hmm.
thought about it, like they showed the stained glass and before in the opening scene, so they showed the first kind of thought there. That's one of the things that I really liked was like the foreshadowing. The way they did the foreshadowing in this was a little bit different than they did in the original with the photographs,
Hmm. Yeah, and I would say my
which I liked.
initial yeah, my initial thoughts were I don't know if they've really changed, but kind of like I was saying to you, Kevin, when we first got done watching it. Um, Very atmospheric. Yes, you guys are like 1,000,000% on that. Like I to just add to that, I like how they really use like just liminal spaces, but also like really like dark voids to really just ratchet up that like fear and dread and horror. Like there was like really fantastic scene um where the lead actress, she's like in the bad room, and she's like seeing this like um demon thing, or you don't know really what it is, and then it gets closer and closer, and then you start to realize like it's like the charred woman. But the way they just use that empty space in such a all-encompassing, huge kind of feeling way. And I mean, I think that like speaks to just seeing it on like a really huge screen, but also like just how masterful like putting together something like that like really is. I still am a little bit like nitpicky about like Father Brennan. Now, Kevin, you said that they said he was there for the birth. He says he witnessed the birth.
Hmm.
But correct me if I'm
In the
wrong,
original,
you
he
guys,
does
but
say that.
yeah, and he wasn't there, right? Like I didn't see him there in that like scene. So I don't know. I
Oh, he was peeking behind the thing. He was like,
Oh, was he?
no, no, maybe. I gotta rewind that part. I
I
gotta
was
see it in
like, did
70
I miss
millimeter.
that? Like, but and those are like really like those are like just nips. I mean, it didn't hinder my enjoyment of the movie. Even though maybe it would have been too much fan service, I wished we would have got a cameo from Mrs. Baylock, because I think she's an awesome villain. Kind of, if I had to say an issue at the movie, I would say that it like a lot of scenes could feel a little overly long. Like I felt like there's definitely was times that I'm like, they could just let this scene breathe a little bit. And then there's times that I'm like, okay, let's, um chop, chop a little bit. But also like there's stuff I just kind of didn't understand. Like I think this is vague enough to not be a spoiler, but like the thing with like the guy she picks up at the dance club, why did they need to bring him along to that like ceremony? Like, do y'all have any like thoughts on that? Like why wouldn't you just kill him if you didn't want him to like tell
I
anyone?
thought that was like an Italian thing, you know what I mean? Like a cultural thing where they're just like, hey, if you go out dancing with the girl, you're gonna be part of our little cult ceremony.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
didn't really think that.
Maybe, yeah, that's
um
good.
Just part of it's really like minutia for the local culture, Mike.
I know. I'm very insensitive to the local Italian slash devil community. What I will like, but actually, sort of like springboarding off of what you were saying though, like the way they presented the nuns and this sort of like their world, um, them like smoking and talking about like it seems like a like slightly risque stuff while peeling the potatoes, or like the
Sure.
nuns,
Yeah.
jumping on the trampoline like the kids. I mean, it made it feel like a very like the world felt very much alive. It felt very much like
Hmm.
this is just a snapshot of like a day in the life of a convent. And sometimes shit gets a little silly, but it never felt ridiculous, or it always felt sort of grounded. And I think it was like I mentioned those little moments because it's like little touches like that that really make
Kind
it.
of real.
Yeah, yeah, it makes it feel like a real world. With the world building, what do you all think of it? Like, do you feel like it did its job? Do you feel like it could have even went a little further or explored a little bit more? Or will you do you feel like it's sort of saving some things for maybe future sequels?
I think it is saving some stuff. I really liked the world building because then I went and rewatched when I got home. I did this in the wrong order, but well, I guess chronologically the right order. But I went and watched The Omen when I got home, and I was really happy with I felt like some of the major weirder parts of the mythos, I felt like they captured it really well.
Hmm.
Um, but then they did spin off like potential to do other things with like Damien's sister and whatnot. And it's kind of a blank check, which is cool. I think that there's more to do there. Nell Tiger Free's probably going to be shooting like and killing a lot of people in subsequent movies if there are any. And more power to her.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you think? What do you think about the world building and you know, did it do its job?
I kind of did the same thing. I came home and I went and I'm like, I need to watch the first one because I had too many questions, So I was like, I felt like the world was really like cohesive through like she did her homework on that aspect. Like it felt like someone had took in the 70s and the 70s or what was it, 60s, and like they put it on film again, and it looked like the cars. I'm really a stickler with like background stuff, so I was looking at cars. I was looking at all those things in the background. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of. There's not any like I couldn't like, I'd have to go through and pause to find it, but there's no like mess ups in the background that you could see, which I really thought was cool, and like it felt very of the time frame. I loved that like the clothes were all matched and it was just like really, you know, cohesive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean and also like kind of building off of the time period, I think is used in the plot really interestingly. I remember like at the beginning they were really hitting home like we're living in unprecedented times where it's very godless and everyone's like not going to church and all this stuff. And we'll get more into that later, obviously, in spoilers, but like yeah, no, I just thought like everything was for the most part really nicely set up. Which is a big problem I have with Immaculate. Yeah, I like how it didn't it didn't do a lot of fan service, this movie, and I appreciate that. But like when it did, like it went so fucking hard and I loved it. First off, what do you guys think about the twist of the church was responsible for breeding the Antichrist or making their version of the Antichrist as a way to get parishioners back into the church? I've been kind of going back and forth, but first I want to hear what you all think. So, Kevin, we'll start with you this time. What do you think?
Um, I thought that was interesting that it was like, huh, so a sect from a church broke off thousands of years or whatever and decided they were gonna bring up the Antichrist to help bring people back to God. And I'm like going, okay, sounds like something the church would do because it sounds like something that, you know, some people would go, hey, like even with politics in this day and age, we get the same thing. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was that it seemed like it could happen. Um, very like plausible to me. That's what made this a little bit, I think, made it really interesting. Is that it could be plausible if there were things like jackals that ran around, people having half human jackals, and you know only a male baby would be that, but then yeah, go ahead. It's, but yeah, like I said, the church thing that's I can see it because I've been in a church for a very long time and haven't done it in forever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. I feel like that's the most accurate portrayal of the Catholic Church I've seen in a long time because it sounds about right. Not even joking. Like, because I mean the whole thing is like this like 2,000 year history of like inventing things that were demonic in order to like to achieve random political goals for church power, which is absolute bullshit. Like there's a period of time in like one particular place, I'm forgetting the details because I did not put it in my notes. I'm well prepared, but there was a place where like the Catholic Church just decided that it was illegal to not believe in werewolves. Um, like it's not even like let's teach you about werewolves. It's like no, you can't not whatever, and they use it as an excuse for stuff. Like the whole church history is an excuse of like building up boogeymen to achieve power goals. So like breeding the antichrist is absolutely something that if they thought it was possible, there would be a sect of the church that tries to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I'll be real with y'all. I was very conflicted, especially like my just sort of recounting my thoughts in the moment. But then the more I sat on it, the more I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, that's actually kind of fucking brilliant. Because like you guys were saying, like, yes, I could 1,000,000% like feel like that could be a thing that they would try to like if they could. Um like if you took it out of the realm of fiction, like they would most certainly do that. And then it's like not only that, but you have that extra layer of the hubris, right? That you can not only do you want to do this, but then also that you could control it. Um,
Yeah.
and I can see that amount of fucking hubris being like, something that the church would do. I mean, and it's so funny because I had seen Tuesday I watched Immaculate because our Alamo Draft House has $7 tickets on Tuesdays, and I'm all about saving that coin. I'm not sponsored by Alamo Draft House, but I fucking love it, so I'm gonna talk about it. Um, but yeah, so I saw
Beautiful
that,
theater. It really was a beautiful theater.
right? Um, but y'all should sponsor. But anyway, so I saw Immaculate Tuesday, and then I saw First Omen. Oh my god, that was Saturday night. Or was it Friday night? Oh my god, I'm
Friday.
literally Friday
Friday.
night.
Friday.
Friday night, yes. So it's like I was a little shell shocked, and I was like saying to my husband, I was like, I've seen a lot of pregnant nuns this week, like a lot, like more than typically see. You know what I mean? Like I love it.
That's okay. It's just a habit you have.
I love it. Such a bad joke, but I love
You're welcome, America.
it. I'm gonna have none of this nonsense. Damn it.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, no, oh my gosh.
I'll nut it off.
So Jeff, this is something that I've been dying to ask you. So when you were in the premiere and they had that like claw out of the vagina scene, like because when we saw it, everybody was like gasped. Like
Mhm.
what was the crowd's reaction to like because you don't really see vaginas in movies too often.
No, it was there were a lot of gasps. There was like a guy, I didn't know him, but he was like in the row ahead of me to my left, like just at the edge of my vision, that was like visibly uncomfortable and kind of slinked in his chair. And I'm like, all right, man, you need to calm down. Like you came
Yeah.
out of one of those. Like
Yeah.
fucking chill. But it was no, it was great. Like people were in costume, like some people were dressed as nuns. Like just whatever. Yeah, there was a lot of gasps at that, and there were a couple other scenes too. That really like there was a lot of clapping and hooting and hollering at certain moments. That was
Nice.
pretty sweet.
So and this kind of segues into talking about the finale, which I think is really good. So when so Jeff, like for your crowd, that moment when he's like he's telling her the baby's name, he's like, "Oh, they given him a name, Damien, and then boom, they play that iconic theme. It just like rushes in, and it's just such a cool moment. Like, was that like a big moment at the premiere?
Yeah, there was like they were there clapping and like a couple of whoops. People weren't too as super into it.
And a moment that like,
Good. And even when the picture showed up,
yeah. Oh, right. Oh my gosh, like that moment where you see Gregory Peck's picture from his
when we saw
character.
the picture of, yeah, yep,
Um,
that was where I think it happened too. Like people were like, "Wow, like Gregory, oh, there's Gregory Peck." Me and you both looked at each other.
yeah. Um, no, I was like kind of curious, like how much of that scene we were going to see as sort of a bridge to, the first film. And I think it was just enough. I think it was perfect. Like, I feel like any more, and it might have been a little bit too like fan servicey, but like, um, and I don't necessarily
Yep.
say fan service in a derogative way. It's just there's definitely times you can like overdo it for sure. But yeah, this was just right. I saw a really cool someone did sort of like a retro ad for a double feature of Immaculate and the First Omen.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw that.
Yes. um like those double features are going to be happening. Like,
Oh, it's a great double feature. And you so my headcanon is I like to imagine that the the movies take place in the same universe and it's different rogue factions, right?
yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
like the whole Omen series, there's this big thing once Damien gets older where he's like, "Oh no, Jesus is gonna be born. Oh man, I'll kick that baby's ass. Everybody kill baby," right? Um,
He says it
and
just like that too.
that's almost verbatim. You kill a baby, and
And
you kill
you
a
kill
baby.
baby.
Um, but then I like to imagine that it's another independent. They don't know what the other side is doing. Rogue faction trying to like build a Jesus. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like they're perfectly fit in the same world. And I'm not gonna put this online because it's spoilery until
Yeah.
like later. But that's in my head what's going on.
Yeah, I would 1,000,000% fund that movie. Yeah,
Mm.
I really adore how both movies are just so stylish, but they're very it's almost like the endings are both almost the complete mirror of each other, right? Like, um Jeff, would you say
Mhm.
that since you've seen both of them? Like,
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like
um
they follow an unnervingly similar plot progression too.
yeah,
Um, but like the ending, obviously they're building they're it's not exactly the same ending, and then the polarity of what actually
yeah,
happens is wildly different
yeah, very
depending.
different.
Um, and so depending on what's scariest in the moment. So I think both endings are very successful. They like complement each other more than they compete with each other in
Yeah.
some ways, despite the similarity, I think.
So, final question, would this make a good double feature with Sister Act 2 back in the house?
um, well, one, it does have dancing nuns, so yes. Um, I would maybe
yes,
triple feature it
yes.
with, yeah. I would also I would pitch a double feature of the first Omen uh and Prince of Darkness.
Ooh, uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, different
I know
returns
mine
of
was a
satanic
joke, but that's a
majesties.
legit suggestion. But no, if I like for real was programming, I would probably pair this with if if I couldn't pair this with Immaculate, which would be phenomenal.
It's really
And
rare.
like if I had to pick an older movie, Kevin, we saw a preview for this at the Draft House, but it's called Beyond the Door. Jeff, have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah.
It's excellent. I think it's not hard to find. If I somehow have an extra disc of it or something, I'll send it to you. But
I would love that.
yeah, it's so. to sum it up really quick, it's like it's such a blatant Exorcist knockoff that Warner Brothers actually sued and won, but somehow they got it worked out where like they could distribute it, obviously, because it's like they have it on Blu-ray and probably going to be 4K sometime soon. But like, it's really excellent. If we're talking about like really great Exorcist knockoffs, like it's a good one. It's Italian. It's uh it's a spicy
That's
meatball.
fun. It's me, Mario.
It was funny.
Yeah. um, I don't want to keep y'all any longer, but this was so fun. Talking about the first Omen, which I think we all agree was really great. You
Mhm.
should check it out. And
Definitely.
thank you guys so much. What's your socials? Where can people follow you? Jeff, give them all those juicy deets.
Yeah, cool. You can find my slash our show, Humanoids from the Deep Dive, anywhere your podcasts are served. I have a new interview posting moderately soon and some new reviews, and then we're gearing up for we start recording our second season, so look forward to those. Um and I'm hoping, I'm not going to announce it yet because fingers crossed, but I'm hoping to have a really big announcement sometime in the very near future, depending on how next week goes. And other than that, you can still find me currently at Inverse and freelancing at other places. Um, and that's me. And I'm still on Twitter, which will never be called X, at Real Jeff Ewing, REEL.
And Kevin, where can they do you have anything you want to plug or
I don't have any like internet stuff that I do online, so I really like kind of this is the first forte into that. So hopefully we'll have
so
more
you
to
can
come in the future
well
someday.
you can contact Kevin through the wind if you just write a message on the wind and you just send it out there. I'm sure he'll get it.
Or get it to Mike and Mike will get it to me.
Yeah. Either way.
Or okay, you gradually like convert a sector of the Catholic Church, right? Decades in advance.
Mhm.
And you engender a
Yep.
conspiracy amongst them to give birth to the ideal messenger to get to Kevin.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty
Very
easy.
long game.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yep, that's it. Yep,
Simple
there you
stuff. Um
go. Long.
and yeah, so you can find me also on Twitter, which is it's still a hellscape, but I'm never not going to be on there, I guess. At Strange Cinema 65. And if you want to check out my book, The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema, that you could just Google that or look it up on Amazon. Um, and as always, please like, subscribe, um, all that really great stuff. This has been the pop culture reviews. I have to make sure not to say like humanoids or geek vibes or the other stuff that I'm currently doing. But yeah, I second that. You should check out Humanoids from the Deep Dive. Oh my gosh, we have such a great time. Um, and like I want to start getting back into like our old episodes. I bet
Mhm.
those are fucking wild now to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
do
It's
you
good
do you
stuff.
ever do that? Do you ever listen to like our old
I do, and it's funny. I also like recommend them to folks too. Like I had a friend that I worked with who she wants to start her own podcast. She's like, you podcast, like what's your show? And then so she sent me like last weekend like random 10 a.m. episodes like or text like, oh, I was listening to your one on like this one and then like that was really great, blah blah blah. It was really really nice. So like I also like send them out to people still.
that's awesome.
Get us new fans.
I really enjoyed talking to was it David Bruckner from Hellraiser?
Mhm.
He was really fun to talk to, and I love that he brought out some of the Hellraiser props
Yes,
for us to
that
take a
was
gander at. That was really
excellent.
awesome.
Because I that's another franchise that I mean we all have been like long time fans of.
Yeah. I want to do a video essay about Hellraiser, but more specifically about the leather S&M sort of like
Mhm.
queer sort of context, and
Yeah.
how I never felt like the movies ever really tapped into that quite well enough. Like maybe the first one, but like
Yeah, maybe the first one.
I don't know. Like that shit was based on the Hellfire Club. Like
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah,
kinkiest
explicitly
fucking
so.
yeah, like that's what we need. That's what I wanted from this remake, reboot, whatever. But
Well, so here's what I'm gonna splice Hellraiser into Cruising.
mm,
Now that is honestly like is just swap the endings, really. It's gonna be perfect.
yeah, I'd
Al
be into
Pacino
it.
being like, and then like chains come out, you know,
Of his nipples,
always.
nipple chains, just like listen, let's make it happen. Give me $100 million.
Weirdly, that's how Two Chains got his name. Those are the two chains.
The titular two chains. Well, listen, you heard it here, folks.
That's funny.
Talk that.
Canon.
But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys. And please check out all of Jeff's work, and I'll link a bunch of that in my description, as well as where you can check it out. Check it out. Yeah. My brain is checking out. Where you can check out the humanoid from the deep dive. All right. Well, I will talk to you gents later, and I will see y'all in the next video.